I knew something was wrong the moment I saw the bright orange cones blocking the fire access road that led to my property in Cedar Falls, Oregon. My name is Keith Bradford, and I have lived in the Mountain View Estates community for 3 years now. The place is beautiful, nestled right against the foothills of the Cascade Range, with towering Douglas firs surrounding each property. It is early October, and the air already has that crisp bite that tells you winter is coming fast. Out here, that means one thing above all else. You need firewood, and you need a lot of it. My home is partially heated by a wood stove, which is not just some rustic aesthetic choice. When the power goes out during ice storms, which happens at least twice every winter, that stove is the difference between staying warm and freezing your butt off. I had scheduled my annual firewood delivery for today, October 15th. 6 cords of seasoned oak and maple, enough to get me through the coldest months. The delivery company, Cascade Timber Supply, had been servicing my property for the past 2 years without any issues. They use the fire access road because my driveway is steep and narrow, barely wide enough for my truck. The fire road connects to my back property line and provides the only reasonable access point for large delivery vehicles. Except now there were cones and a hand-painted sign that read, "No unauthorized vehicles. HOA enforcement zone. Violators will be towed." I pulled my truck over and got out, staring at the barricade. The fire access road was not technically part of the HOA-controlled streets. It was a shared easement maintained by the county for emergency vehicle access. At least, that was my understanding. I pulled out my phone and called the number on my delivery confirmation. Cascade Timber Supply, this is Jenny speaking. Hi, Jenny, this is Keith Bradford. I have a delivery scheduled for today, and there seems to be a problem with the access road. Oh, Mr. Bradford, yes. Actually, your driver is already en route. He should be there within the hour. Is everything okay? There are cones blocking the fire road. Someone put up a sign saying no unauthorized vehicles. There was a pause. That is strange. Let me make a note for the driver. His name is Marcus, and he will give you a call when he arrives to assess the situation. Thanks, Jenny. I hung up and examined the barricade more closely. The cones looked new, and the sign was clearly homemade, probably printed at someone's house. I was about to move the cones myself when I heard the unmistakable sound of heels clicking on pavement behind me. Excuse me, you cannot remove those. I turned around to see a woman marching toward me with the kind of purposeful stride that said she was used to being obeyed. She was probably in her mid-50s, with blonde hair cut in that severe bob that seemed to be the unofficial uniform of overzealous community board members everywhere. She wore khaki pants, a navy blue cardigan, and an expression that could curdle milk. "And you are?" I asked, though I had a sinking feeling I already knew. "Patricia Wainwright, president of the Mountain View Estates HOA. Those cones are there for a reason." "The fire access road is not part of the HOA's jurisdiction," I said, keeping my voice level. "It is a county-maintained easement. The entrance to that road passes through HOA property," Patricia said, crossing her arms. "And we have determined that large commercial vehicles are causing damage to the area. Effective immediately, all deliveries must use the front entrance and standard driveways. My driveway cannot accommodate a firewood delivery truck. It is too narrow and too steep. I have been using the fire road for 2 years. Then you should have consulted the HOA before making arrangements," Patricia said. Her tone was clipped, almost triumphant. "The board voted on this matter last week. All homeowners were notified via email. I never received any email." "That is not my problem. The rules are the rules, Mr. Bradford. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my frustration in check. Look, Mrs. Wainwright, I need this firewood. Winter is coming and my home relies on it for heat. Can we discuss this reasonably? There is nothing to discuss. If your delivery truck attempts to use this road, it will be towed at the owner's expense. I have already contacted Baxter Towing and they are on standby. This is insane. You are blocking emergency access. Emergency vehicles are exempt, obviously, Patricia said, rolling her eyes like I was an idiot. But commercial deliveries are not emergencies. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. It was a number I did not recognize with a local area code. "Excuse me," I said to Patricia, stepping away to answer. "Hello, Keith Bradford." The voice was deep, familiar in a way that made my heart skip. "Yes, this is Keith." "Man, it is Marcus Chen." I felt my jaw drop. "Marcus, no way, Marcus from Lincoln High, the one and only. I am your firewood delivery driver today." Small world, huh? Marcus Chen had been my best friend all through high school in Portland. We had been inseparable, the kind of friends who got into trouble together, covered for each other, and knew each other's families like our own. After graduation, we had drifted apart. He went to trade school while I went to college, and life just pulled us in different directions. I had not spoken to him in over a decade. "Marcus, this is crazy," I said, unable to keep the grin off my face despite the situation. "How have you been?" "Pretty good, man. Running my own delivery business now. Took over my dad's old trucking company and expanded into timber supply. But listen, I am about 5 minutes out, and dispatch told me there might be an issue with access." "Yeah, there is definitely an issue. The HOA president is here and she has blocked off the fire road." "The fire road? She cannot do that. That is county property." "That is what I said. She claims the entrance crosses HOA land." "All right, I am pulling up now. Let me talk to her." I turned back toward Patricia, who was now on her own phone, speaking in hushed, urgent tones. A minute later, a large flatbed truck with Cascade Timber Supply emblazoned on the side rumbled into view. The truck was loaded with neatly stacked cords of firewood, secured with heavy straps. The driver's door opened and Marcus stepped out. He had changed since high school, filled out more, with a trimmed beard and the kind of weathered look that comes from working outdoors. But his eyes were the same, sharp and quick to smile. "Keith Bradford," he said, walking over with his hand extended. "You have not changed a bit." "Marcus Chen," I said, shaking his hand and pulling him into a quick hug. "You look good, man." "So do you. Now, what is going on here?" Patricia had finished her call and was striding toward us, her expression even more severe than before. "You must be the delivery driver," she said. "I am afraid you cannot proceed. This access road is closed to commercial vehicles." Marcus looked at her, then at the cones, then back at her. "Madam, I have a legal delivery to make, and this fire access road is the only viable route to Mr. Bradford's property. The county maintains this road specifically for situations like this." "The entrance is on HOA property," Patricia repeated. "You will need to find another way." "There is no other way," Marcus said, his voice calm but firm. "The front driveway is not rated for vehicles of this size. If I attempt to use it, I will either get stuck or damage the property. Neither of those outcomes is acceptable. That sounds like your problem, not mine." Marcus pulled out his phone. "Let me call the county road department. They can clarify the easement rights." Patricia's eyes narrowed. "You can call whoever you want. I have already contacted our HOA attorney and Baxter Towing is on standby." "You are going to tow a commercial vehicle making a legal delivery. If it trespasses on HOA property, yes." I could see Marcus's jaw tighten. He was a patient guy, always had been, but there was a limit. "All right," he said. "Let me make this call." He stepped away, phone to his ear. I stood there with Patricia, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. "You know this is ridiculous, right?" I said. "You are creating a problem where none existed." "I am enforcing community standards," Patricia said. "Too many homeowners think they can do whatever they want without considering the impact on property values and neighborhood aesthetics. Firewood deliveries impact property values. Large trucks tearing up the landscape certainly do. The fire road is gravel. It is designed for heavy vehicles." "That is your opinion," Marcus returned, looking frustrated. "I spoke to the county. They confirmed that the fire access road is a public easement. The HOA does not have the authority to block it." "The entrance is on our property," Patricia insisted. "The entrance is part of the easement," Marcus countered. "Blocking it is illegal. The county is sending someone out to verify, but they said it could take a few hours." "Fine," Patricia said. "Then you can wait a few hours." "I have 3 more deliveries today," Marcus said. "I cannot wait." "Then I suggest you find another route." I could feel my frustration boiling over. "Patricia, this is absurd. You are being unreasonable." "I am being responsible," she snapped. "Something you clearly do not understand." Marcus looked at me, then back at Patricia. "Madam, I am going to proceed with the delivery. If you have a problem with that, you can take it up with the county. If you move those cones, I will have your truck towed, with 6 cords of firewood on it. Good luck finding a tow truck willing to take that on." Patricia's face turned red. She pulled out her phone and dialed. "Yes, this is Patricia Wainwright. I need a tow truck at the fire access road entrance to Mountain View Estates immediately. There is a commercial vehicle preparing to trespass." Marcus shook his head and walked back to his truck. "Keith, help me move these cones." "We are doing this." I did not hesitate. Together, we grabbed the cones and moved them to the side of the road. Patricia was still on the phone, her voice rising with each word. "Yes, they are moving the barricade right now. I need someone here immediately." Marcus climbed back into his truck and started the engine. I jogged back to my own truck and followed him down the fire access road toward my property. In the rearview mirror, I could see Patricia standing there, phone to her ear, looking like she was about to explode. The fire road wound through a dense section of trees before opening up to the back of my property. My house sat on 2 acres, with a large clearing perfect for stacking firewood. Marcus expertly maneuvered the big truck into position and began the process of unloading. "Man, I cannot believe I am delivering firewood to Keith Bradford," he said, grinning as he worked. "What are the odds? I know, right? How long have you been doing this?" "About 5 years now. Took over my dad's business when he retired. It is good work, honest work. What about you?" "What are you doing out here?" "I am a software engineer. Remote work so I can live pretty much anywhere. I wanted space, quiet, and no neighbors breathing down my neck. Ironically, I ended up in an HOA." "How is that working out for you?" Marcus asked, gesturing back toward the road. "As you can see, not great. We worked together, stacking the wood in neat rows under the covered area I had built specifically for this purpose. It felt good to be working alongside Marcus again, like no time had passed at all. We fell into an easy rhythm, talking and laughing about old times. "Remember when we tried to build that treehouse in your backyard?" Marcus said. "And it collapsed the first time we climbed into it. Your mom was so mad. She thought we were going to break our necks. We probably would have if it had been any higher off the ground." We were about halfway through the delivery when I heard another vehicle approaching. I looked up to see a large tow truck pulling up behind Marcus's flatbed, with Patricia's sedan right behind it. "You have got to be kidding me," I muttered. A burly guy in a grease-stained shirt got out of the tow truck and surveyed the scene. Patricia emerged from her car, looking vindicated. "That is the vehicle," she said, pointing at Marcus's truck. "I want it towed immediately." The tow truck driver, whose name tag read Earl, scratched his head. "Madam, the truck is on private property making a delivery. I cannot just tow it. He trespassed through HOA property to get here." "He used a public access road," I interjected, "which he has every legal right to do." Earl looked between us, clearly not wanting to be in the middle of this. "Look, folks, I am just here because I got a call. But if there is a dispute about property rights, that is something you need to sort out with the county or a lawyer. I cannot tow a vehicle that is legally parked and conducting business." "He ignored my direct order not to use that road," Patricia said, her voice shrill. "Your order is not legally binding," Marcus said. He had stopped working and was now standing with his arms crossed. "The county confirmed that the fire access road is public. You have no authority to block it. The HOA bylaws clearly state that the HOA bylaws do not supersede county ordinances," I said. Earl held up his hands. "Like I said, this is above my pay grade. If you want to file a complaint with the sheriff's department or take it to court, that is your business. But I am not towing this truck." He walked back to his tow truck and drove away, leaving Patricia standing there looking furious. "This is not over," she said, glaring at both of us. "I will be filing a formal complaint with the HOA board, and we will be pursuing legal action against both of you." "For what?" I asked. "Accepting a firewood delivery. For violating HOA regulations and trespassing. We did neither of those things." Patricia turned on her heel and marched back to her car. She peeled out, spraying gravel, and disappeared down the access road. Marcus let out a long breath. "Man, she is intense. That is one word for it." We finished unloading the firewood in silence, both of us on edge and waiting for the next shoe to drop. When the last piece was stacked, Marcus wiped his hands on his jeans and pulled out a tablet for me to sign the delivery confirmation. "I appreciate you not backing down," I said. "A lot of drivers would have just left, and left you without firewood. No way. Besides, she is in the wrong. I am not going to let some power-hungry HOA president bully people. Still, I have a feeling this is going to get messy. Probably. But you have the law on your side. And if it comes down to it, I will testify that the county confirmed the easement rights." We exchanged phone numbers, promising to stay in touch this time. As Marcus drove away, I stood in my yard looking at the neatly stacked cords of firewood and felt a mix of satisfaction and dread. The firewood was here, which was good. But I knew Patricia Wainwright was not going to let this go. I was right. 3 days later, I received a certified letter from the Mountain View Estates HOA. Inside was a formal notice of violation, along with a fine of $500 for unauthorized use of restricted access points and permitting commercial vehicles in non-designated areas. The letter also informed me that I was required to attend a special board meeting the following week to address the matter. I called Marcus and told him about the letter. $500. Are they serious? Dead serious. And they want me to attend a board meeting. Can they even fine you for that? I have no idea. I need to read through the HOA bylaws and see what they actually have the authority to do. Do you want me to come to the meeting? I can explain what happened from my perspective. That might be helpful, actually. Let me see what I can find out first, and I will let you know. I spent the next 2 days buried in the HOA documents that I had signed when I purchased the house. They were dense, full of legal jargon, and covered everything from fence heights to paint colors. But nowhere could I find any mention of the fire access road or restrictions on delivery vehicles using public easements. I also did some research on Oregon HOA laws. What I found was enlightening. HOAs in Oregon have significant power, but that power is not unlimited. They cannot enforce rules that violate state or local laws, and they cannot restrict access to public easements. If the fire access road was indeed a county-maintained public easement, then the HOA had no authority to block it or fine me for using it. Armed with this information, I decided to attend the board meeting and fight the fine. The meeting was held in the community center, a small building near the entrance of Mountain View Estates. When I arrived, there were about a dozen other homeowners already seated, along with the 5 board members sitting at a table in the front. Patricia Wainwright sat in the center, flanked by 4 other people I vaguely recognized from neighborhood events. Marcus arrived a few minutes after me, and we sat together near the back. The meeting started with routine business, approval of the previous meeting's minutes, a financial report, and a discussion about landscaping in the common areas. Then, Patricia cleared her throat and looked directly at me. Next on the agenda is a violation filed against Keith Bradford of 247 Ridgeline Drive. Mr. Bradford, would you like to address the board? I stood up, feeling all eyes on me. Yes, I would. I received a notice of violation and a fine for using the fire access road for a firewood delivery. I believe this fine is unjust and unenforceable. The HOA has clear policies regarding commercial vehicle access, Patricia said. Those policies do not apply to public easements, I replied. The fire access road is maintained by Deschutes County as a public easement for emergency and necessary access. The HOA does not have the authority to restrict its use. One of the other board members, a man in his 60s with wire-rimmed glasses, spoke up. Mr. Bradford, do you have documentation proving that the road is a public easement? I do. I pulled out a printed copy of the county records I had obtained. This is from the Deschutes County Assessor's Office. It clearly shows that the fire access road is designated as a public easement, and it is maintained by the county. The HOA has no jurisdiction over it. Patricia's face tightened. The entrance to that road crosses HOA property. The entrance is part of the easement, Marcus said, standing up. I am the driver who made the delivery, and I contacted the county road department before proceeding. They confirmed that the easement includes the entrance and that blocking it is illegal. Patricia glared at him. You had no right to ignore the barricade. The barricade was illegal, Marcus said calmly. You cannot block a public easement. Another board member, a woman with short gray hair, leaned forward. Patricia, did you verify with the county before placing the barricade? Patricia hesitated. I consulted with our HOA attorney. And what did the attorney say? He said we needed to look into the easement issue further, but that we had the right to protect HOA property from damage. So you placed the barricade without confirming whether it was legal to do so. I acted in the best interest of the community. The gray-haired woman sighed. Patricia, if Mr. Bradford is correct and the road is a public easement, then we have no authority to fine him. In fact, we could face legal action for blocking the easement in the first place. That is absurd, Patricia said. The HOA has the right to enforce community standards. Not when those standards violate county ordinances, the man with glasses said. Mr. Bradford, I apologize for the confusion. I move to rescind the fine and the violation notice. Seconded, the gray-haired woman said. Patricia looked like she had swallowed a lemon. This is premature. We should consult with our attorney before making any decisions. We should have consulted with the attorney before issuing the fine, the man with glasses said. All in favor of rescinding the fine, 3 hands went up. Patricia and one other board member abstained. The motion passes, the gray-haired woman said. Mr. Bradford, the fine is rescinded and the violation is removed from your record. We apologize for the inconvenience." I felt a wave of relief. "Thank you." Patricia stood abruptly. "If that is all, I have other matters to attend to." She stormed out of the meeting, leaving the rest of the board looking uncomfortable. After the meeting, several homeowners came up to me and thanked me for standing up to Patricia. "She has been out of control for months," one man said. "Always finding new rules to enforce and fines to levy. Someone needed to push back." Marcus and I left the community center together, both of us feeling like we had won a small victory. "That went better than I expected," Marcus said. "Yeah, but I do not think Patricia is going to let this go." "What can she do? The board overruled her." "I do not know, but something tells me this is not over." Again, I was right. Over the next 2 weeks, I noticed an uptick in HOA activity around my property. Patricia or one of her allies seemed to drive by my house multiple times a day, always slowing down to look at something. Then the violation notices started arriving. The first one was for my fence, which was allegedly 6 inches too tall according to HOA guidelines. I measured it myself and found it was exactly the height specified in the bylaws. I submitted photographic evidence and the violation was dropped. The second was for unsightly storage because my firewood was visible from the street. The bylaws allowed for firewood storage as long as it was neatly stacked and covered, which mine was. That violation was also dropped. The third was for a tree in my front yard that was supposedly dead and needed to be removed. I had an arborist come out and certify that the tree was healthy. Violation dropped. It was clear that Patricia was on a vendetta. She was combing through every possible rule to find something, anything, she could use against me. I was not the only one. I started hearing from other homeowners who had crossed Patricia in the past. One woman had been fined for painting her front door a shade of blue that was allegedly not on the approved color list, even though she had gotten prior approval. Another man had been cited for parking his work truck in his driveway, despite the fact that the bylaws only prohibited commercial vehicles over a certain size, and his truck was well under that limit. It became clear that Patricia was using her position as HOA president to harass people she did not like. And now, I was on her list. I decided to dig deeper into the HOA's finances and operations. As a homeowner, I had the right to request copies of the HOA's financial records, meeting minutes, and other documents. I submitted a formal request and waited. When the documents arrived, I spent an evening going through them with a fine-toothed comb. What I found was disturbing. The HOA had collected over $50,000 in fines over the past year alone. Most of those fines were issued under Patricia's tenure as president. But when I looked at the financial statements, I could not find any corresponding expenses that justified that level of enforcement. The money seemed to be sitting in the HOA's account, accumulating. I also noticed several payments to a company called Wainwright Consulting Services. A quick online search revealed that Wainwright Consulting was owned by Patricia's husband, Gerald Wainwright. The payments totaled nearly $15,000 over the past year, all categorized as administrative services. I had a bad feeling about this. I called Marcus and told him what I had found. "That sounds like embezzlement," he said. "I do not want to jump to conclusions, but it definitely looks suspicious." "What are you going to do?" "I think I need to bring this to the attention of the other board members. If Patricia is funneling HOA money to her husband's company without proper oversight, that is a serious problem." "Be careful, man. If she is willing to embezzle, who knows what else she might do?" I knew Marcus was right, but I could not just sit on this information. The HOA was supposed to serve the homeowners, not enrich the board president. I drafted an email to the other 4 board members, outlining my concerns and attaching copies of the financial documents. I kept the tone professional and factual, focusing on the numbers rather than making accusations. Within an hour, I received a response from the gray-haired woman, whose name was Donna Mitchell. "Mr. Bradford, thank you for bringing this to our attention. This is extremely concerning, and we will be looking into it immediately. Please keep this confidential for now while we investigate." 2 days later, Donna called me. "Keith, we have reviewed the documents you provided, and we have some serious concerns. We are calling an emergency board meeting tomorrow night to address this. We would like you to attend and present your findings." "Of course. What about Patricia?" "She will be there, but she will not be leading the meeting. I am taking over as acting president until this is resolved." The emergency meeting was tense from the moment I walked in. Patricia was already there, sitting with her arms crossed and a furious expression on her face. The other board members looked grim. Donna called the meeting to order and immediately turned the floor over to me. I presented the financial documents, walking through each questionable transaction. I pointed out the excessive fines, the lack of corresponding expenses, and the payments to Wainwright Consulting Services. "These payments total nearly $15,000, I said. "I could not find any records of what services were provided or any contracts authorizing these payments. According to the HOA bylaws, any contract over $5,000 requires approval from the full board. Was this ever brought to a vote?" The other board members looked at each other and shook their heads. "Patricia, can you explain these payments?" Donna asked. Patricia's face was red. "My husband provides consulting services to the HOA. He helps with administrative tasks, record keeping, and compliance issues." "What specific tasks?" the man with glasses, whose name was Robert Chen, asked. I noticed the last name and wondered if he was related to Marcus, though I did not have time to ask. "Various tasks. It is all documented." "I have not seen any documentation," Robert said, "and I am the treasurer. All expenses are supposed to go through me for approval." "These were approved," Patricia insisted. "By whom?" "By me. As president, I have discretionary authority for administrative expenses. Discretionary authority is capped at $500 per transaction," Donna said. "Anything above that requires board approval. You know that, Patricia." "This is ridiculous. You are all ganging up on me because I actually enforce the rules around here." "Patricia, this is not about rule enforcement," Donna said. "This is about financial impropriety. If you authorized payments to your husband's company without proper approval, that is a violation of your fiduciary duty to the HOA. I did nothing wrong. Then you should have no problem providing documentation of the services rendered and proof that these payments were legitimate." Patricia stood up. "I do not have to justify myself to any of you. I have done more for this community than all of you combined." "Sit down, Patricia," Robert said. "We are not finished." "I am finished," Patricia said. "If you want to waste your time chasing down conspiracy theories from disgruntled homeowners, that is your problem." She grabbed her purse and stormed out of the room. The remaining board members sat in stunned silence. "Well, that went well," Robert muttered. Donna sighed. "We need to contact an attorney. If there is embezzlement happening, we need to handle this properly." "Should we involve the police?" The 4th board member, a younger woman named Lisa Hayes, asked. "Let's talk to the attorney first," Donna said. "Keith, thank you for bringing this to our attention. We will take it from here." I left the meeting feeling like I had opened a can of worms, but I also felt like I had done the right thing. If Patricia was stealing from the HOA, she needed to be held accountable. Over the next week, the HOA hired a forensic accountant to review the financial records. The accountant's report confirmed what I had suspected. Patricia had authorized over $30,000 in payments to her husband's company over the past 2 years, none of which had been approved by the board. There was also evidence that she had been pocketing some of the fine money, depositing it into a personal account rather than the HOA's account. The board voted unanimously to remove Patricia as president and to pursue legal action. They also contacted the Deschutes County Sheriff's Office to report the suspected embezzlement. 2 deputies showed up at Patricia's house on a Thursday afternoon. I was not there, but I heard about it from multiple neighbors who had watched the whole thing unfold. Patricia was arrested and charged with embezzlement and theft. Her husband, Gerald, was also arrested as an accomplice. The local news picked up the story, and suddenly Mountain View Estates was in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. I felt bad for the community, but I also felt vindicated. Patricia had used her position to bully and harass homeowners while enriching herself. She had gotten what she deserved. The legal process moved slowly. Patricia and Gerald both pleaded not guilty and hired an expensive attorney to defend them. The case dragged on for months, with hearings and depositions and endless paperwork. Meanwhile, Donna took over as HOA president, and the board worked to rebuild trust with the homeowners. They instituted new financial controls, requiring dual approval for any expenses over $100 and mandatory quarterly audits. They also repealed several of the more draconian rules that Patricia had pushed through, including the restrictions on the fire access road. Marcus and I stayed in touch throughout the whole ordeal. We started getting together regularly, rekindling the friendship we had let lapse for too long. He even helped me split some of the firewood, and we spent a cold Saturday afternoon working and talking. "You know, if I had not been your delivery driver that day, none of this would have happened," Marcus said. "I do not know about that. Patricia was bound to get caught eventually." "Maybe, but you are the one who stood up to her. A lot of people would have just paid the fine and moved on." "I do not like bullies. Neither do I. That is why we make a good team." In March, nearly 5 months after the firewood delivery that started it all, Patricia and Gerald Wainwright went to trial. The prosecution presented a mountain of evidence, including the financial records, testimony from the forensic accountant, and statements from multiple homeowners who had been targeted by Patricia's enforcement campaigns. The defense argued that the payments to Wainwright Consulting were legitimate, and that any financial irregularities were the result of poor record-keeping, not criminal intent. They painted Patricia as a dedicated volunteer who had been unfairly vilified for trying to maintain community standards. The jury did not buy it. Patricia was convicted on multiple counts of embezzlement and theft. Gerald was convicted as an accomplice. Patricia was sentenced to 2 years in prison and ordered to pay restitution of over $40,000 to the HOA. Gerald received a year in prison and was also ordered to pay restitution. The day the verdict was announced, I felt a strange mix of emotions. I was relieved that justice had been served, but I also felt sad that it had come to this. Patricia could have been a force for good in the community, but instead, she had let power and greed corrupt her. Donna called me that evening. "I wanted to thank you again, Keith. If you had not brought this to our attention, Patricia might have gotten away with it." "I just did what anyone would have done." "No, you did what most people are too afraid to do. You stood up for what was right, even when it was hard." "How is the HOA doing?" "Better. We have had a lot of interest in the board positions, and we are working to make sure this never happens again. We are also planning a community event next month to try to bring everyone together. I hope you will come. I will be there." The community event was held in late April, just as the weather was starting to warm up. It was a potluck barbecue in the common area, with games for kids and live music. Nearly every homeowner in Mountain View Estates showed up. I brought a casserole that my mom had taught me to make, and Marcus came with a cooler full of craft beer from a local brewery. We spent the afternoon mingling with neighbors, many of whom thanked me for exposing Patricia's corruption. "You are a hero," one older man said, clapping me on the shoulder. "I am not a hero. I just did not want to pay a bogus fine." "Well, you saved this community. That counts for something." As the sun started to set, I found myself sitting by the fire pit with Marcus, watching the flames dance. "You know, I am glad we reconnected," I said. "I missed this." "Me too. We should not have let so much time pass." "Agreed. No more 10-year gaps. Deal." We clinked our beer bottles together and sat in comfortable silence. Life in Mountain View Estates slowly returned to normal. The HOA operated more transparently, with regular town hall meetings and open financial reports. Donna proved to be a fair and level-headed president, and the board worked hard to rebuild trust. I kept using the fire access road for deliveries, and no one ever complained again. In fact, the new board even put up a sign clarifying that the road was a public easement and welcoming its use for necessary deliveries. Marcus and I made it a point to get together at least once a month, usually for dinner or a hike in the mountains. It felt good to have my best friend back in my life. One evening in late summer, as we were sitting on my back porch watching the sunset, Marcus brought up the whole saga again. "Do you ever think about how crazy that whole thing was? I mean, I show up to deliver firewood and the next thing you know, the HOA president is going to prison." "It was pretty wild," I admitted. "But honestly, I think it was bound to happen. Patricia was out of control. If it had not been the firewood delivery, it would have been something else." "True. But it was the firewood delivery and I was the driver. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if it had been someone else. Would they have backed down? Maybe. But you did not, and I am grateful for that. We make a good team, just like in high school." "Just like in high school," I agreed. As autumn arrived again, I ordered my annual firewood delivery from Cascade Timber Supply. Marcus called me a few days before the scheduled delivery. "Hey man, just wanted to give you a heads up. I will be delivering your firewood next Tuesday. Same time, same place, you know it. And this time there will not be any orange cones in the way, thank God for that." The delivery went off without a hitch. Marcus pulled up the fire access road, we unloaded the wood together, and we spent an hour catching up over coffee. As he was leaving, Marcus turned to me with a grin. "You know, this is starting to become a tradition. Annual firewood delivery and hangout session. I am okay with that, me too. See you next month for our hike." "Absolutely." I watched his truck disappear down the road, feeling grateful for the way things had turned out. What had started as a frustrating confrontation with an overzealous HOA president had led to justice being served, a community being healed, and a friendship being rekindled. That winter was one of the coldest on record. The wood stove kept my house warm and cozy, even when the power went out during an ice storm in January. As I sat by the fire, listening to the wind howl outside, I thought about everything that had happened over the past year. I had learned a lot about standing up for what is right, even when it is difficult. I had learned that communities are only as strong as the people who are willing to fight for them. And I had learned that sometimes the most important relationships in life are the ones you reconnect with after years apart. The following spring, the Mountain View Estates HOA held elections for the board positions. Donna ran for president again, and won easily. Robert remained treasurer, and Lisa stayed on as secretary. Two new members joined the board, both of them homeowners who were committed to transparency and fairness. At the annual meeting, Donna gave a speech about the progress the community had made. A year ago, we were facing one of the darkest periods in our HOA's history, she said. But thanks to the courage of homeowners like Keith Bradford and the dedication of this board, we have turned things around. We are now a stronger, more united community. And we are committed to making sure that what happened with Patricia Wainwright never happens again. The room erupted in applause. I felt my face flush with embarrassment, but I also felt proud. We had done something good. After the meeting, several homeowners approached me about running for the board myself. I declined, explaining that I preferred to stay involved as a regular homeowner rather than taking on an official role. But I promised to stay engaged and to speak up if I ever saw anything that concerned me. Marcus came to the meeting to support me, and afterward we went out for burgers at a local diner. "You are kind of a big deal now," he teased. "I am not a big deal. I just did not want to pay a stupid fine. And exposed a corrupt HOA president in the process. No big deal." Okay, when you put it that way, it sounds more impressive. Because it is impressive, you should own it. Fine. I am impressive. There you go. We laughed and ate our burgers, enjoying the easy camaraderie that had always defined our friendship. As the months passed, I settled into a comfortable routine. Work was going well, the community was thriving, and I had a solid group of friends, including Marcus, who had become as close to me as he had been in high school. One weekend in June, Marcus invited me to a barbecue at his place in Bend. He had recently bought a house with a big backyard, and he was excited to show it off. "You have to see this place," he said. "It is perfect for entertaining." I drove out to Bend on a Saturday afternoon, bringing a case of beer and a bag of charcoal. Marcus's house was beautiful, with a spacious deck and a view of the Cascade Mountains. "This is amazing," I said as he gave me the tour. "Thanks. It took a while to find the right place, but it was worth it." The barbecue was a small gathering, just a few of Marcus's friends and coworkers. I enjoyed meeting new people and hearing their stories. It reminded me that life is full of unexpected connections and opportunities. As the evening wound down, Marcus and I found ourselves sitting on the deck, watching the stars come out. "You know, I have been thinking," Marcus said, "about that whole HOA thing. Yeah, it really made me appreciate the importance of standing up for yourself. I mean, you could have just paid the fine and moved on, but you did not. You fought back and you made a difference. I had help. You stood up to Patricia too, remember? And the other board members did the right thing when they found out what was happening. True, but you were the catalyst. You are the one who started it all." "I just wanted my firewood," I said with a laugh, "and you got it, along with justice for the entire community. I will take it." We sat in comfortable silence, listening to the crickets and enjoying the cool night air. Life continued to move forward. Patricia served her time in prison and was released after 18 months for good behavior. I heard through the neighborhood grapevine that she and Gerald had moved to California to be closer to their daughter. I hoped they had learned from their mistakes and were living honest lives now. The HOA continued to operate smoothly under Donna's leadership. The community flourished, with regular events, transparent finances, and a renewed sense of trust among homeowners. Marcus's business grew, and he hired additional drivers to help with the increasing demand. He often joked that he owed some of his success to the publicity from the Patricia Wainwright case, which had put Cascade Timber Supply on the map as a company that stood up for its customers. "I should send Patricia a thank you card," he said one day. "That might be a little weird." Probably. But still, it is funny how things work out. As autumn approached again, signaling the start of firewood season, I found myself reflecting on everything that had happened since that fateful October day when Patricia had blocked the fire access road. It had been a wild ride, full of frustration, anger, determination, and ultimately, triumph. I had learned that standing up for what is right is not always easy, but it is always worth it. I had learned that communities thrive when people hold their leaders accountable. And I had learned that true friendship is resilient, capable of withstanding years of distance and springing back to life when given the chance. The fire access road remained open, a symbol of the community's commitment to fairness and common sense. Every time I drove past the spot where the orange cones had once stood, I felt a sense of satisfaction. Marcus delivered my firewood again that October, right on schedule. We unloaded it together, stacked it neatly under the covered area, and then sat on my back porch with cold drinks, watching the sun set over the mountains. Another year, another delivery, Marcus said, and hopefully no more HOA drama. I will drink to that. We clinked our glasses together and settled in to enjoy the evening. Life was good. The community was strong. And I had my best friend back. What more could a guy ask for? As winter set in, I fired up the wood stove for the first time that season. The warmth spread through the house, and I felt grateful for the simple comforts of life. The firewood that had caused so much trouble a year ago now provided heat and coziness, a reminder that sometimes the best outcomes come from the most unexpected conflicts. I thought about Patricia occasionally, wondering if she had found peace after everything that had happened. I hoped she had. Despite everything she had done, I did not wish her ill. I just hoped she had learned that power without accountability leads to corruption, and that true leadership is about serving others, not enriching yourself. The community continued to thrive. New families moved in, drawn by the natural beauty and the reputation for strong, fair governance. The HOA became a model for other communities in the area, demonstrating what could be achieved when homeowners and board members worked together with transparency and integrity. Marcus and I continued our monthly get-togethers, exploring hiking trails, trying new restaurants, and simply enjoying each other's company. Our friendship had been rekindled by a firewood delivery and an HOA dispute, but it endured because we made the effort to maintain it. One evening in February, as we sat by my wood stove sharing a bottle of whiskey, Marcus raised his glass. "To firewood deliveries and unexpected reunions," he said. "To standing up for what is right," I added, "and to friendship that lasts a lifetime." We clinked glasses and drank, the warmth of the whiskey matching the warmth of the fire and the warmth of genuine friendship. Outside, snow was falling, blanketing the world in white. Inside, the wood stove crackled and glowed. And in that moment, surrounded by warmth and friendship, I realized that the firewood delivery dispute had been a blessing in disguise. It had brought me back together with my best friend. It had helped expose corruption in the community, and it had reminded me of the importance of standing up for what is right. The story that had started with orange cones blocking a fire access road had ended with justice served, a community healed, and a friendship restored. It was more than I could have hoped for on that frustrating October day when I first saw the barricade. As spring arrived and the need for the wood stove diminished, I found myself looking forward to next autumn, when Marcus would deliver another load of firewood and we would continue our tradition. Life had a funny way of working out, taking unexpected turns and leading to outcomes you could never have predicted. The fire access road remained open, a testament to the principle that rules must be fair and grounded in law, not personal vendetta. The HOA remained strong, operating with transparency and accountability. And Marcus and I remained friends, bonded by shared history and reinforced by present commitment. I had learned that sometimes the smallest conflicts can lead to the biggest changes. A simple firewood delivery had uncovered corruption, brought down a tyrant, and reunited best friends. It was a story worth telling, a reminder that ordinary people can make extraordinary differences when they refuse to be bullied or silenced. As I prepared my yard for the coming summer, planting flowers and trimming trees, I felt content. The past year had been challenging, but it had also been rewarding. I had stood up for myself and my community, and in doing so, I had discovered strength I did not know I had. The wood stacked under the covered area was nearly depleted, a sign that winter was finally loosening its grip. Soon it would be warm again and the cycle would continue. Life moved forward, seasons changed, and friendships endured. I called Marcus that evening to check in. "Hey man, how is it going?" "Pretty good. Just finished a big delivery run. How about you?" "Good. Just thinking about how far we have come since last October. It has been quite a year." "It really has." "Hey, want to grab dinner this weekend?" "Absolutely. Same place as usual." "Sounds perfect." We hung up and I smiled. Life was full of unexpected twists and turns, but having a good friend by your side made all the difference. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across my yard. I stood on my back porch, looking out at the mountains in the distance. Somewhere out there, Patricia was living her new life, hopefully having learned from her mistakes. Here in Mountain View Estates, the community was stronger than ever, built on principles of fairness and accountability. And me. I was just a guy who wanted his firewood delivered, who stood up when it mattered, and who got his best friend back in the process. It was a simple story, really, but it was mine. And I would not change a thing.